Welcome to Save Our Sleep. Tizzie and the Save Our Sleep team believe it's every child's right to receive comfort, a parent's right to demonstrate love, and everyone's right to a full night of sleep.
This podcast is being recorded on the land of the Wurundjeri people. We acknowledge the Wurundjeri people as the traditional custodians of this place and pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. The Save Our Sleep podcast is dedicated to helping you prevent and solve sleep problems while having some fun along the way. We endeavour to discuss all things family related, starting from preconception all the way through to an adult child leaving home and beyond. Some topics may be distressing. If you find this is the case, please reach out to you or your child's health nurse or general practitioner.
Hi Zoe.
G'day Tizzie, how are you?
Now you say good day. Last time you didn't. Okay, what am I saying? How's the crack? My crack's not too good. How's your crack?
Okay. The crack. Well, all right, I'll talk to you about my week. The highlight or potentially low light was I had my OGTT, so my
What does that stand for?
Oral glucose tolerance test.
Didn't
and if
you-
you are, we'll get to that. If you are lucky enough to carry a baby in your lifetime and do so past 28 weeks, or 26, I think might be the earliest you'll get to endure this test. And so what it involves is fasting overnight, coming into pathology in the morning and having a really yummy drink, about a half a litre.
We're not supposed to be scaring our listeners.
About half a litre of sugar syrup. I mean, literally glucose syrup with no added flavour. You have to drink it as fast as you can, and then you have to sit for an hour and do nothing.
So you did that?
I did that, and as the hour progressed, I felt sicker and sicker and sicker, and I just wanted to vomit this gross, sickly drink up. But I couldn't do that because if you do, you automatically fail the test and you have to go
So
again.
you didn't vomit?
I did a little vom and I swallowed it because I was not going to do this test again.
But so I thought I saw somewhere on Facebook or something, you said, what happens if I vomit? But you didn't actually vomit.
I asked my crew, I asked Facebook if I vomit during this test, does it null and void it? And my fellow mamas replied, yes, it does. At which point it came to a head and I swallowed and I made it through the first hour, and the second hour it got better and better and better until I felt sort of somewhat okay. So now we just wait for the results. But yeah, so the whole time I was doing that, I was thinking, well, aren't I lucky that I get to do this test because I've made it so far in the pregnancy? And that's
because you didn't do it with the
No,
boys.
I didn't get to do it with the boys. So
And I don't think I got to do it with Dara or any of my ones. Dara was number 13 before Dara, but I think I did do it with the other ones.
So yucky, but it's 2 hours of your life, and lucky yucky, I'm going to call it. I just made that up then. It was a very lucky yucky. Anyway, talking about...
Was it green? The test, the drink.
No, clear.
I think I had a green one. Yeah, what were you going to say?
Talking about yucky, I want to know, well, you've made me ask you, what?
I didn't make you ask you anything.
What was the smell?
Oh, last week I told you to
Yes,
ask me.
you, last week.
Oh my goodness, you don't want to know.
Okay. Am I going to vomit in my mouth?
No, but it wasn't roast pork.
Okay. Well, what was it?
It was roast.
Oh, no.
I don't know if I can tell you. Okay, so let's just go back a few weeks, yeah? We went in the houseboat and we were so worried. I shouldn't be laughing because I've had a really bad week. Mm-hmm. You're not supposed to be asking what the smell is. You're supposed to be asking how Ron is.
Well,
Nathan's dad. But anyhow. So, the smell. We'll talk about the smell first. It's maybe a funnier or maybe not funnier subject. So, back to the houseboat. We caught 2 mice. We thought there were going to be loads of mice. We caught 2 mice. Yep. We took them up the riverbank, whatever, yeah? We never thought about this till now. It's back with the mice. So, we were going to catch mice. Well, we did, in the bonnet of the car. So we left the car parked at the houseboat.
Right.
I shouldn't be laughing, but it's so obvious. Thank God we didn't go in my little Mini. I have a beautiful Mini. Thank God we went in the van, because we parked the van with the trailer. Do you know I drove a trailer for the first time?
Oh, well done.
Yeah, with a boat on it.
Oh, wow.
Because Nathan drove his parents.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Up, and we parked the van next to the bins at the place where you hire the boat.
Okay.
And clearly some mice decided that my engine was worth eating. So while Nathan was locked up with his parents,
Yes.
and last week Nathan was really sick and his mum was worse and his dad seemed to be okay. Anyhow, I had to deal with the car with the smell. It was roast mouse. The engine was full of mice.
Oh,
Is that
no,
sad or
Tizzie,
funny or
that's
yucky? But didn't I say I thought it was roast pork?
You did.
So
yeah,
roast.
so that's
Okay, we need to move
really
on
gross,
because
yeah.
that's really gross.
We're doubling up on
And
gross things. Have
yes.
you got any?
No, I've got
good
some
or
really
bad?
bad
Okay.
thing to share.
Okay.
COVID sucks. So we thought Ron was doing okay.
Yep.
I may cry, but he's still here. But he's in hospital. He got it real bad. MND and COVID don't go together. Now, I wanted to ask you something, and this is going a little bit over our normal intro.
Sure.
But I want to ask your opinion, because one of the reasons Zoe's here is she's good at telling me the truth, yeah? So I explained it to the kids like this. So Ron's still here, obviously still here,
Sure.
as in he's in hospital.
Yes.
You know, so, and he's got pneumonia from the COVID, and he's gonna pull through. Anyway.
Yeah.
So he has MND, and I explained to the kids that MND slowly turns your lights off. So he's got the MND where the lights that operate his hands don't work,
Okay.
and the lights that operate his feet don't work.
Okay.
Yeah? And let's say you're born with 100 lights, and you've got 4 for your lungs, 4 for your heart, 1 for each of your hands, whatever, okay? So I explained to the kids he has 4 lights in his lungs. And the MND closed 1 light down. So he only has 3 lights left in his lungs. Yeah?
Right.
Before the COVID. And he's peg fed. So he's got a peg going in. I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this stuff.
Is this since COVID?
No. Before COVID, he has a peg
Okay.
going in.
Yep.
And he doesn't need to be peg fed. He can still eat food. But once you get the peg in, you have to be peg fed to keep it clean and keep it going.
Right, yes.
Okay? And I'm sure he won't mind me sharing that. And then, so because his lungs were, he only had 3 working lights in his lungs, he had to go in and have the peg put in before COVID. Now he's caught COVID, and that's shut 2 more lights off. So he's now only got 1 light working in his lungs. This is what I told the kids. And he's gone into hospital to try and get the hospital to turn those 2 lights back on. So if they can cure him from the COVID, he'll be back to 3 working lights. Can I just ask you, does that kind of make sense with the lights?
I
Because
mean,
that's how I explained to the kids,
Sure.
that he's got all these lights, and
Yes.
COVID's turned 2 lights off.
Yeah.
And then more lights will turn off, and more lights will turn off, and eventually all of Poppy's lights will turn off. And then the kids are like, I know what that means, when all of Poppy's lights turn off. And I said to Kieran said, I know what that means. And I said, oh, what does that mean? He goes, well, when all of Poppy's lights turn off, then we have to choose whether he's going to go to heaven in a balloon or a box. And obviously it's going to be a long time away, but I think the lights works. Does the lights work?
Yeah, look, I see where you're coming from. Why do you feel like you can't use the actual terminology? Is it because
I
you don't
have
know
words
it?
for it.
Yeah.
So he's got MND and things start shutting off.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
So what would you say?
Yeah, I think I'd try to use as many real words as I could and just say that perhaps different functions of his lungs are starting to...
I don't think my kids would get that though.
Sure, and that's where each child and each adult...
I'm real
individual-
truthful with my kids.
Yeah.
And I tell them stuff like that, and then I wait and see what questions they ask, and then I answer their questions. So then Dara would obviously ask different questions, and I answer their questions when they ask questions, you know?
Right.
And I'm real truthful
Yes.
with that, but
Yeah.
I just don't know how to explain MND.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think Poppy or
tricky.
Nan know how to explain MND,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah. Well,
Maybe we'll ask the clients. If anyone knows how to come in and explain that to children,
Yep.
come into one of our podcasts
Yep.
and help us.
yeah, give us a comment, get in touch.
Yep.
Okay. All right, well, thoughts are with Ron this week, and best of luck. Today's topic, which I think we should probably jump on to, is where should baby sleep when you've brought baby home from hospital?
So we talked about when baby is in hospital, they're sleeping in like a plastic cot, whatever heat, then they come home and suddenly it's cold. So they've come out of here Here it's really, really hot.
Very hot.
It's like, what is it, 40 degrees in there? It's 36, 37. Then when the baby's moving and your fluid's moving, it creates warmth. It's really warm in there, you know? So they come out of there, it's really warm. They come out into our environment and it's cold.
Yes.
It's really cold in our environment for them.
Yeah.
And they don't sleep well.
Yeah.
So you need to bring them home and you need to mimic the 4th trimester. Now, where should baby sleep? Baby should sleep wherever you and the baby are really going to get the most sleep. So if officially a baby should sleep in the room with the mum and dad for at least the first 6 months, I say just before the first 6 months, you move them before the nighttime sleep cycles start, because that's the best way to decrease SIDS and cot death.
Right, yes.
Okay, if they're in the same room with you.
Okay.
Obviously, if you were a cigarette smoker or if you vaped, you wouldn't have them in the room with you because that's
not.
dangerous,
Yeah.
right? If there was another reason, you wouldn't have them in the room with you. So that's, you know, you've got to weigh everything up. You know, if you are a smoker, they're better off not in your room. But then if you're a smoker, you've got to make sure they sleep on their back with their face and head uncovered and take as many risks.
Reduce as many risks as possible all
Okay.
the time.
If you plan, if you plan for your baby to sleep with you in your bed, so you plan to be a co-sleeper, there's 2 types of co-sleeping, and I don't like the fact that a lot of people get brushed with the one, or people say the one thing, oh, co-sleeping's really bad, babies die if they co-sleep.
Right.
That's not true.
Okay.
When you look into the statistics, I think co-sleeping needs to be moved into 2 categories. Yeah, you've got co-sleeping, planned, decided, planned co-sleeping.
Sure, yes.
And you've got accidental co-sleeping.
Where we've
They're
fallen
2 really
asleep.
different things.
Yeah.
Now, so what happens is, when people have planned co-sleeping, they decide they're going to co-sleep with their baby, they go into hospital, they have their baby, they come home, they've got a safe co-sleeping environment. They might have a mattress on the floor, they sleep baby, you get dad or partner, then mum, then baby, then wall. So the baby can't fall off the bed, it's between mum and the wall.
Yes.
If mum is with the baby and she's planned to co-sleep, and she's with the baby and she's always had the baby next to her, she's going to be alert, she's going to be in tune with the baby. When the baby wants to feed, she wakes up. When the baby's asleep, she sleeps. And if she's sleeping when the baby sleeps and awake when the baby's feeding from day one, she doesn't get sleep deprived. She's not getting up, she's not going to get the baby out of the cot. Like, I'm not saying I endorse it, I'm not saying it's good, I'm saying it's different.
Yes.
Yeah. You've then got accidental, unplanned co-sleeping. Very different. So what happens is, mum and dad decide that they're going to have a baby sleep in a cot.
Yep.
They bring the baby home from hospital and they either set the cot up next to them. I recommend a mini crib, which is a smaller than a cot, and it's really good because if you use a mini crib, which is what I used for Kieran, I wished I'd had it for the other babies, you use it for the first 6, 7 months and you think, oh, maybe it's a waste of money because the baby's not going to sleep in it for long. But then when you have a second baby, you can put the first baby in the mini crib, the second baby in the mini crib when the first baby's in a cot.
Yes.
And then you end up keeping the first baby in a cot longer because you've got the mini crib for longer for the second baby. It sort of works anyway. So I like mini cribs. So you might say the baby's going to sleep in a mini crib or in a cot in your room.
Yes.
Okay? And that's what you plan. But you bring the baby home and it's drilled into your head, don't overheat, don't overheat, don't overheat. You don't use enough bedding, the baby doesn't sleep properly. So the baby should feed, sleep, But when they don't have enough bedding, they feed and then they don't sleep properly. And then when they don't sleep properly, they don't feed properly. And then when they don't feed properly, they don't sleep properly. And you've got this endless circle of sleep deprivation, right? And then it's always the same story. Whenever you listen to a family where there's been accidental SIDS, accidental SUDI. So SIDS is sudden infant death syndrome, right? So it's the unexplained death of an infant, right? So they come in and they see the environment. When I say they come in, so you find a baby, the baby hasn't made it through the night, you call 000, they talk to you about how to resuscitate. You should always do a first aid course so that you have that in the background, but as well, they teach you how to resuscitate a baby in a first aid course, but it's good to have that as well as the 000. So you'd be on the phone to 000, they get you to move the baby. So So when they actually come in, the baby's not going to be in the sleeping environment, but they ask you lots of questions and they work out where the baby was, yeah? And a lot of the time, they can tell how the baby died, like the baby's face down a plastic mattress protector, or the baby's face was jammed into cot bumpers. But they can't prove it in an autopsy. So it's still called SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome.
Right.
But it's actually not. So a lot of us have argued and pushed for there to be a new name.
Yeah.
So now those deaths come under the sudden unexpected death of an infant. So that's SUDI.
Okay.
So sudden unexpected death of an infant pretty much means they kind of can tell, but they can't prove why the baby died. And then SIDS is when they walk in, or they don't walk in because, as I said, they've picked the baby up, but when they talk to the parents, they find out that the baby was lying in its cot with its face and head uncovered in the safe sleep position of on its back, and no one can work out why this baby died. There's no blankets over its face, as in polyester or wool. There's no bean toys on their face. There's nothing. The baby is in the perfect sleeping position of on its back. It's, you know, and then they look at things like sometimes it's the grandparent was a smoker, or the nanny was a smoker, or the dad smoked but only smoked outside, and there's lots of these factors. So we say keep a baby cigarette and smoke free pregnancy and after birth. Now, with the unexpected with co-sleeping accident, it's the same story. Mum and dad, not always, but in my view of the accidental co-sleeping, Mum and dad have come home from hospital. They've wanted to sleep the baby in a cot. They've bought all the correct stuff, but they've got one of these silly swaddles with the arms up or something, and the baby's hitting itself through the swaddle, and they've got no blankets because they think it's TOG tested. They find the baby not sleeping because of this bad cot setup and not enough bedding, okay? And they don't sleep. The baby doesn't sleep. The parents don't sleep. No one sleeps, right? And they get more and more and more sleep deprived. And then one night the dad says to the mum, like, oh, give me the baby, I'll take the baby and go for a walk around the house. So the mum goes to bed to get some sleep. She's exhausted, so she falls into a deep sleep, and then dad walks around the house with the baby, and the baby falls asleep. So then dad thinks, I'll just lay down on the sofa for a minute. Is this too deep? No. And then dad thinks, we need to actually put a disclaimer in front of this one, because I don't know whether Ron will want to listen to it when he's come out of hospital, me saying how I explained it to the kids, and maybe this is a bit deep. So I think we need a disclaimer about death and not listening to it.
Yes.
So dad walks around with the baby, and then baby's fallen asleep. Dad's a bit tired, he doesn't know what to do, he doesn't want to go and wake mum up, he's scared if he goes in the bed, so he lies down the sofa, So you picture dad, he's laid down the sofa, and it really annoys me, because when I had my kids in a hospital not recently, 7 years ago, I watched a video, and the video showed a dad cuddling the baby lying on the sofa, and I'm thinking, you need to update your videos, like we know that this isn't good, because what happens is, dad starts falling asleep, and then dad's thinking, oh, I'm going to fall asleep, so shall I put the baby here? Now, if I put the baby here, the baby might roll off the sofa. Well, do you know what? If the baby rolled off the sofa, it'd probably have a few bumps and start crying, and dad would pick it up. But instead, dad naturally puts the baby on the other side so that the baby doesn't fall off the sofa. And then he wakes up and the baby hasn't made it through the night. And they know it's because the baby's face ended up against the sofa. That's not co-sleeping. That's accidental. Sharing a sleep space with your baby. Now, the other one that happens is mum is exhausted, so she takes baby into bed with her. She's breastfeeding baby. She falls asleep. Baby ends up between mum and dad, and mum might wake up and her arm's over baby. And because she's so exhausted, she has accidentally blocked her baby's airways. Now, again, that's not called co-sleeping, because if that mum had that baby in the bed with her from day one, everyone would be sleeping okay, you know. So it really bugs me. So you need to follow the world famous, I'm biased, but I want you to follow the world famous Save Our Sleep Bedding Guide, or follow your local advice from your local SIDS researching people, or go to the World International SIDS conferences and read up on what blankets to use with what sleep bags. Sleep your baby. I wrap babies in a Save Our Sleep wrap until they're about 9 months old. Never wrap with your arms up here, always wrap with the arms down. Now we have a YouTube video which you can refer to, how to put a 5-week-old to bed. And as I said in one of the one of the last episodes, I kind of raced through it because I was scared that little Mac was going to wake up. So I talk very fast, but don't wrap with the wrap up, wrap with the wrap down. Use your wrap, use your sleeping bag if the baby's over 8 weeks, use the correct blankets, and create a safe sleep environment. That's where babies should sleep. And if you do want to co-sleep, find a co-sleeping expert and follow their advice to the point. Do you have any questions about your baby and sleep?
I have got a question for you, and it comes up quite a lot with your advice, part of your bedding guide, which is to swaddle till, you just said then, around 9 months.
Yeah.
Why do some people think that we should unswaddle sooner, and why
Because it's a very good question. So what happens is, let's talk just for a minute on a different, just to explain it, on a different subject. If I go into and I'm blunt and I'm Irish, but if I went into one of the old places that I used to work, like a tower block in Salford, in Manchester, Birmingham, Salford, Manchester or Birmingham, I can't remember which city it's next to, but Salford, okay? It's in the United Kingdom.
Okay.
It's a tower block. I would call it knackers. It's a tower block of, I'm probably being probably racist, but as in not for the type of people, but lower economic, what's the word? What do we want to...
those of lower socioeconomic
And
class.
they're in this tower block, and you go in and you've got, like, one thing that fascinated me, and I'd love to touch on it, is I went to a tower block once when I was studying, and I had to do a paper on parents and how they look after their kids, and why this particular family, they were getting reported, it was to do with social services, and they were getting reported because they were leaving their child at the bottom of the stairs in a buggy and bringing their shopping up to the... Look at you, you're going, that's wrong. So they were leaving their kid in a buggy at the bottom of the stairs, and they were carrying all the shopping up, and then they were coming back down, and they were... Why were they leaving the child?
Right.
And then when we went and talked to them, it was really obvious. If they left their shopping downstairs and took the child up, their shopping would get stolen.
Oh my gosh.
And their child could not be left upstairs because the lift wasn't working, so they brought the child
Either way,
up.
the child's left.
No, they brought the shopping up,
Sure.
locked the shopping in the in the block, and then came down and got their child. Like, that's these people living in this unfortunate circumstances. And you go into their apartment and they've got beer cans, cigarettes dumped out in the beer cans. They might have a pizza box that's 8 weeks old. Not all of them. Some of them are beautiful homes.
Yeah, of course.
Tidy, clean, yeah? Yes. But you've got a pizza box that's 5 or 6 weeks old, a coffee cup, the same cloth. I watched this woman once, and she cleaned the baby's bum with the same cloth she then went to clean its face with. And I was like, oh, let me get you a clean cloth. Yeah, oh, you know, and they thought I was like strange. So we would tell that mother to sterilize her baby bottles until 1 year old.
Okay.
Yeah? Then if you came into my house, okay, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, but if you came into my house, it's a new build, it's 6 years old, the kitchen gets cleaned every day. Nathan cleans it 5 times a day. In fact, I get cotton wool out to put makeup on, and I put cotton wool in the sink. One of the kids calls, I go out, I come back, and he's put the cotton wool in the bin before I've even used it. In the bathroom, not the kitchen, obviously, but anyway. So my house, if you come into my house, you'd probably say, you don't need to sterilize the bottles at all. They're really clean, they're washed really well with really hot water, and it's only breast milk going in them.
External.
You know, so the same comes to bedding. If I'm doing a talk for the international audience in, like, say, America, I do a lot of talks for cold storage in Singapore, I would say, stop wrapping at 4 months, because I have to tell the person who's wrapping with the on-safe wrap, with the polyester bedding, the same as what I tell somebody who's using my products at the talk.
Okay.
But my book and my podcast and my one-on-one advice and my support group is people using my bedding. So if you're using my tried and tested safe bedding, then yes. And it's in the book. If you're using a routine in my bedding, you wrap to this age. If you're not using a routine in my bedding, you wrap to this age.
Okay.
Yeah? So that's the difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So it's a different type of bedding.
Yep. And so, but what makes it safe in your instance with your bedding as opposed to another instance in other beddings? What is unsafe about?
So my bedding is either it's bamboo cotton mix. Yep. So first of all, my wraps are safe because they wrap down, not up. Okay, and that's all explained in the little YouTube videos you can watch. My blankets are cotton and bamboo mix. So if you pick them up, you can see through them. Yep. If you pick up a wool blanket, you can't normally see through it. And if you get a polyester blanket, you definitely can't see through it. I mean, polyester is just plastic bottles.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
You, with the bedding, if you were to actually take my bedding, and somebody did it recently, I think it was Kieran.
I've done it before.
Yeah.
Put it over
if you
my
put
face.
all 16 layers that some people use over your face, you can still breathe.
I can still breathe. And I tell you when I can't still breathe is when my face is head down into a mattress.
Yeah.
Which is such an interesting point, because your whole philosophy is to make sure baby stays on their back.
Yeah.
Because you feel that that's the absolute number one safest way to sleep a baby. And when I tried I had Luke swaddle me. And
swaddle, you can buy adult
put the 16
now.
layers,
Were you
on
up
me.
to something naughty if Luke's swaddling you?
Put the 16. I've always done that with the boys. When they used to take iron in hospital, I've tried and tried to do as many things that they have done in their lives. I've tried it to experience it and see what they're going through. So I was swaddled and I had the 16 layers on, and so I felt it and it felt beautiful, and it was not hot.
You could fit them on.
And
I couldn't fit them over me.
They were just a combination.
Yeah, anyhow, go on.
It was not hot. It was very cozy and comfy. I was instantly soothed, and we all know that. We all know that weight. It's a cuddle. You're mimicking a cuddle. So I did that, and then I pulled the blankets up over my face. I could still breathe. And when we're talking,
pulled them up, or Luke pulled them up?
When we're talking to other mums who freak out when we say, no, you can swaddle much later than when your baby's, say, learnt to roll from back to
Well, that's the most
front.
important time to swaddle.
Yes.
So the most important time to swaddle is when they can roll in their up time. The most SIDS cases happen when children roll for the first time.
Yes.
Statistics show it's the very first time they roll in their bed, and often at childcare, because they go to childcare and all these childcares have got this funny thing about no blankets at childcare, and then they roll and it's a plastic mattress.
I know. And that's when you cannot breathe, is when you've rolled to your stomach and your face is head down into a mattress. You cannot breathe.
Now, your friend who came into the store with her lovely 5-week-old baby, she told me that she went to this baby massage thing and they swaddled her.
Yes.
Did she tell you?
Yeah, I want
really
that.
Really strange. And then,
I want
can
that.
we just go back for a sec, because you were talking about the plastic, you were talking about the mattresses. This is really interesting, yeah? When I was little, this isn't interesting, this is another sad subject, but when I was little, as you know, my little brother died from SIDS. And a little while later, it would be like, Carl Stefanovic on the Today Show?
I do.
We had someone called, oh my goodness, Sebastian. Why can't I think of her name? Anne Diamond. Her son, Sebastian. I couldn't think of her name for a minute. Anne Diamond was the equivalent for us. She was on the morning show, Good Morning Britain, or Ireland AM, or Morning AM, whatever. We called it Ulster Television, UTV, Ulster Television, President Television, Ulster's Northern Ireland. And Anne Diamond was on there. And her little boy, Sebastian, died of cot death, SIDS. You should read the book after you've had the baby, after your baby's 6 months old. And her book, it taught me so much, and she taught me so much. And do you know that when her little boy died of SIDS, New Zealand knew that back sleeping stopped SIDS. New Zealand. And the people in New Zealand had contacted Australia and UK, and they were saying how back sleeping stopped SIDS. And then, I can't remember, you've got to read the book. We need to read that book, like a book club.
Okay.
So it's called Sebastian.
Yes.
And then you need to read it, we need to come back and talk about it, because she was saying how they wanted to use it as an experiment, and even though they knew that back sleeping worked, they didn't tell anyone in the UK and all this, and her boy could have been saved because he tummy slept. But round about this, I remember thinking, Anne Diamond's baby died too. Like, our family isn't that odd. Like, I remember it was really good for my mum, as awful as that is.
Sure.
Because she didn't have Facebook, and she wasn't in clubs, and she didn't get to share photos and stuff of my brother. And I remember when Anne Diamond's baby died of SIDS, it was like we were all in the one club. It was bizarre. But anyway, round about the same time, this guy in New Zealand, mattress wrapping, wrap the mattress in plastic. If you wrap mattresses in plastic, babies don't die of SIDS. And he made everybody wrap their mattresses in black plastic. And I remember it was a thing. And you know what? They did all this research and they proved him wrong. So they thought that the chemicals were coming out of the mattress, and the chemicals were causing the baby tummy sleeping to die of SIDS.
Right.
And I was fascinated by this.
Yes.
And then they did all this research and they proved him wrong. So they did all this research on mattresses and chemicals, and could the chemicals from the mattress cause the baby to die of SIDS? Well, what fascinates me is when you take a mattress and you wrap it in plastic, like in childcare, the baby becomes really hot, and the hot baby sleeps on its back.
Yes.
So was his mattress wrapping, because he showed the statistics that once he made everyone in New Zealand and all over the world start wrapping their mattresses in plastic, the SIDS numbers started dropping, yeah?
Right.
But were the SIDS numbers dropping because of the chemicals in the mattress, or were the SIDS numbers dropping because
Baby was
the
warmer.
babies were getting hot
Yep.
in the plastic wrapped mattresses and staying on their backs?
Sure.
So somebody out there, anybody, some scientist, some young person at university who needs to do a paper, can you do a study to see if his babies were staying alive because they were warmer and on their backs? That's my question to the audience this week.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Then, just one more thing about staying on the back. I don't think we've touched on it yet. A cold baby rolls to their front.
Yeah, that's way too big a subject for today, because it's time for our viewers' question, I think.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, that's a great subject, but that's a whole subject on its own. But yes, a cold baby rolls to its front. A cold 1-year-old will be found with its arms under its chest, its bottom in the air. It's not cute. Go to my YouTube channel and watch the video on it now.
Done.
Yes, it's all touched on there. We'll do it.
Great.
That's probably a 3-episode question. So
Especially the way
yes,
we go
great
around
question.
them. Okay.
But let's move on to our viewers' question.
Yeah.
And we will touch on that
Yeah.
at more detail and another podcast.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So this week's question is from Joe, and essentially what to do if baby won't take the dream feed.
So we haven't discussed the dream feed.
No, we
so
haven't.
that's another whole topic.
Yes.
So can we end it there? No. So the dream feed is where I say you pick up. Now that's my claim to fame. I invented the word dream feed. Now it's everywhere. Magazines, every sleep expert in the country calls it a dream feed. All these books now call it a dream feed. I tried to trademark the name dream feed way back, and I was told by a lawyer, you can't trademark it because it's like trying to trademark the term roasting, like roasting a chicken. You can't trademark dream feed.
That's
a baby.
fair enough.
It's my word, and then all these other people use it, and all these magazines use it, and they say it wrong, and they give the wrong advice, and it's like, that's my term, it's my thing, and you're saying it wrong. You're giving the wrong instructions.
Right.
So to dream feed a baby, you pick the sleeping baby up out of the cot, and you put your boob or the bottle in their mouth while they're asleep, top them up, a bit like when we did the tube feeds in the NICU.
Yeah, exactly like that.
And then after you feed them, you put them back in bed.
Yep.
Now, so Joe's asking, what happens if they don't wait, if you can't get them to take it?
Yeah, because
So you would only do the dream feed from about 8 weeks, 6-8 weeks.
Right.
It says in the book 6 weeks, but it's more closer to 8 weeks. It's sort of from 6 weeks.
Yep.
If they won't take it because they're asleep, you wake them up fully.
Okay.
So you bring them out, turn the lights on, take their nappy off, wake them up fully. If this is the Joe I'm thinking of, I think she was saying that she's been trying all of that and she just can't get the baby to take the feed. So
Okay.
if you've tried all of that
Yeah.
and you just can't get your baby to take a feed at that time, the most important thing is that your breasts don't miss the feed.
Okay.
So don't do the dream feed. Let your baby wake and demand a feed and try it again a couple of weeks later.
Okay.
But express. So your breasts don't miss that feed.
Yeah, sure.
Now,
Okay.
so that's it. But what are we, a week? Let's hope Ron's out of hospital. Let's hope you've got your glucose test back.
Yes.
And it's all good.
Yes.
And you don't,
Fingers
is it
crossed.
gestational diabetes that you may or may not get from it?
Yes.
So let's see what that's doing in a week or so.
Everyone
Let's
cross your
hope
fingers for me.
Ron's
Yeah.
got more lights back
Yeah,
on,
and
even if
for
that's
Ron.
not the right way to say it. And
Yeah.
we would love some input if anyone wants to come on the show because they think that if anyone even wants to come on the show because they don't like Save Our Sleep, come on and talk to us.
Yeah, we want to hear from everyone.
We'd love to have you on. And do you know what? Everybody needs a support person. You're my support person. Yep.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of room at the table. So
have.
if someone doesn't really get Save Our Sleep or doesn't understand it or thinks that it's not the right information for new parents.
Yes.
And they want to come on and give better information or different information.
Yeah, and we are here to learn as well as
then they could come on, but bring a support person. So you don't feel like it's you versus Tizzie and Zoe, because it won't be. Healthy debate's good, or even just in the conversation.
Yes.
Have some crack. And we may even all end up agreeing on the same thing.
Hope so. Wouldn't that be nice?
But so you could come with a mate, a friend, and me and Zoe, or Zoe and I, or Tizzie, you, Zoe, whatever. We'll work it out. If you want to come on. Now, don't forget, we've got YouTube, we've got the podcast, subscribe. We've got, what's your Instagram again? Zoe's new Instagram, who's getting lots of followers. I'm getting a bit jealous, actually.
It's just the...
If you really don't like Tizzie, you could actually start following Zoe more and start unfollowing me and following her.
Don't do that.
I'll get really upset.
No, look, the Instagram's just there for if you want to get in touch with me, but go to the Tizzie Hall International Baby Whisperer.
No, you get them, and you get the tricky question. What's your Instagram tag? Quick.
Zoe Star at the Zoe Star the SOS podcast.
Has it got star in it?
Yeah, I put star in it.
Are you a
that's
star?
my real surname, so it'd be crazy.
What's
not to
Luke's
use it.
surname?
Well, he's Mitchell, so yeah. And you were asking why we're not getting married, so
no, I'm not. No, I'm not. We asked that before. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Nathan gets called Hall everywhere he goes, but that's not his surname.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it's not our surname. Anyway, so, or you've got the Tizzie Hall Instagram, you've got the Save Our Sleep support group that you get into free when you've got the bedding bundles.
Yeah.
And what else? And we've got the YouTube. It'll all be on the end of the podcast. And let us know if it's not on your podcast channel.
Do that.
And we've had some really cool people like contacting us from Canada and South Africa, and the podcast is everywhere. It's been really good. The feedback's been really good.
It has been really good, and let's hope momentum continues. Yeah.
And get out there. And a few people have said that they've moved their babies from listening to the podcast to sleeping on their back. Hey, that's what we want. Good night. Good day. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Save Our Sleep podcast, brought to you by the International Baby Whisperer Pty Limited. You will find more information about the Save Our Sleep philosophy, products, support, and how to watch the podcasts at saveoursleep.com. You may find the Save Our Sleep social media accounts by searching Tizzie Hall on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for all my how-to videos and to watch this podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast and you would like more, please rate the podcast and share it with your friends. I would like to thank Zoe Starr for co-hosting, the Torched team for this production, and most of all, you, the listener. Without you, there would be no reason for this podcast. Please enjoy, stay safe, and Zoe and I will look forward to chatting with you again next week.